Mr. Blood, mute yourself, bro. Like, you act like this is your first day here, dog. I know we've been gone for like, it feels like forever. It's only been a week and a half or 2 weeks. No, about a week and a half. Took a little break after WrestleMania because, man, we were going hard in the paint during WrestleMania season, posting content and doing all the works. But it was nice, man. And honestly, it was a very, very long break. I didn't watch any wrestling and I kind of missed it. I'm not going to lie. As much as we hate, well, not on everything, but on some of the stuff, we like to complain a lot, but I did miss watching wrestling and posting content and hanging out with you guys and talking wrestling again. But it's good to be back. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Snug Wrestling. Back to our regular recording schedule. This is the post-show review of Monday Night Raw of May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And it also happens to be our first Raw back and also the go-home show to Backlash. Yes, another PLE. We just had WrestleMania, but Backlash is this Saturday. Welcome back, fellas. Mr. Blood and Tommy are here. Toxic is out because he has to take care of some school business priorities. But it's good to see you guys again.
Yeah, man, good to be back. Again, I didn't watch much wrestling. All I watched was Raw last week. Didn't tune in for SmackDown. Didn't care. Didn't feel like it. Just wanted a break. Toxic's probably focusing on school because they are getting out for the summer at the end of this month, third week at the end of this month. And also, tonight was the go home show. And here's the weird thing. I didn't even think of it as a go home show until you said it. Because to me, Backlash is such a B tier pay per view that I didn't even really consider this being a go home week. But we'll see what happens this week with Backlash. Tonight was a mostly decent show. I'd say there's only one match I really just didn't care about. Other than that, everything else in the show was great.
Yeah, the show was great. As I'm with Blood on this one, I didn't really feel or even think of this as a go-home show simply because of the fact that it didn't feel like a go-home show. It just really didn't. So we go from one PLE like 3 weeks ago straight into another. We were gone for the last 2 weeks, and I have been watching all 3 shows normally simply because of the fact that I knew that this week is Backlash. So we're going to have that prediction episode on Wednesday. So I wanted to know what the storylines were, what matches were going to be involved, and all of that, so I can make the proper prediction when we do that.
Yeah, we are going to be doing predictions this week as well as the NXT review and our usual weekly episodes and content. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm actually really looking forward to Backlash. This episode of Monday Night Raw gave me a lot to look forward to. They got some good matches on the card for Backlash. And this episode of Monday Night Raw was a build-up for that. And it started off hot. It started off chaotic because we had Roman Reigns pulling up in the parking lot and just striking straight to the ring. Play my music. He's ready to storm the ring. He's got something to say. But Adam Pearce stops him and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow your roll there, Roman. Jacob Fatu's not even here. He's not even here. So you are going to have to wait. Roman Reigns thought he was going to start off the show, but it was actually Seth Rollins who starts the show. So they have a little run-in, Roman and Seth. What had a nice little stare down. Lots of history between these two guys. Another potential great match that we can get in the future, Roman versus Seth. But it was Seth Rollins who started off the show. We thought we were going to get a promo, but Braun Breaker attacked Seth Rollins while he was on his way to the ring. And this was one crazy, chaotic way to kick off this episode of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, out of everything, the most interesting thing here to me personally was the Seth and Roman stare down. Seth just goes, "You're in my way." And I like that because it's also a callback to when Cody and Roman were working together a few years ago, and they had that promo in the football stadium, and Roman tries to leave the football stadium, and Cody kind of sidesteps him, and Roman looks at Cody and goes, "You're in my way." And I thought that was great. The only thing about this that I think was kind of a downer, but not a bad downer, was it already telegraphed this week, and I don't think anybody believes Jacob is beating Roman. Not fucking 3 Saturdays after he won the championship on that Sunday. It hasn't even been a month. They're not going to have him drop it immediately. So I think this was them planting the seeds for probably Roman versus Seth near SummerSlam. That's what I'm feeling. Because I don't see I don't see Braun and Seth dragging this out another, God, what is it, 3 months from now? It just doesn't feel like it's got enough steam anymore to last that long. It just doesn't. So I feel like they're going to blow that off here pretty soon. But I can see Roman and Seth at SummerSlam for sure. The beatdown was fine. Wasn't much of note. It continues later in the show. We'll get into that. But other than that, I was more interested in the Seth versus Roman prospect.
Yeah, that face-off, it did work simply because of the fact that, as you just said, Blood, it did call back to Roman versus Cody. This segment honestly ended exactly how it needed to end because of the fact that, yes, Seth Rollins has been back for a little bit, but Braun Breaker just got back as of WrestleMania 3 weeks ago. So, of course, he was going to end out on top. We're going to get into even more of the vision later on, but this whole thing is just that. But I'm not sure if we're going to go over the backstage segment from later on in the show with just Seth. But Seth did reply to this, even though there was no word said. He simply said, "I told the kid a while back, if you're going to do something, finish the job. And I'm not dead yet." So Seth saying that puts even more interest and even more hype into that match with Braun Breaker for Saturday.
Yeah, great way to kick off Raw. Again, I mean, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker, I think, was one of the matches we were supposed to get for WrestleMania. And unfortunately, it didn't happen because of injuries or whatnot. But we're going to get it at Backlash. And I'm like, this has a big time field match to it because of, the build that was leading to WrestleMania, and it didn't happen there. But at least we're going to get it now. And Braun Breaker looked really good tonight. He looked dominant. He looked fierce. He beat the crap out of Seth Rollins. So, man, I was really pumped. I was really pumped to see this start of Monday Night Raw. Not just for the episode, it set the tone for the entire episode, but also for Backlash. But yeah, when it comes to the stare down between Seth and Roman, I feel like the WWE does stare downs like this all the time. And most of the time, nothing really comes out of it. Like the most recent one that I can think of was Jade Cargill and Charlotte. Didn't they have a stare down where we were like, oh shit, that's pretty cool? Jade's not even the champion anymore, so it's like, are we even going to see that match at all? Like anytime soon or at all for that matter. But hopefully when it comes to Seth and Roman, we do see that match at some point.
My thing here is I'm at the point where I just don't care about the Seth Vision Braun story anymore. It had a great start last year. Then they turned Braun and Bronson into like just backup henchmen for the longest time. Then randomly decided, hey, now we'll give them personalities and now we'll give them their own things that set them aside, set them apart. The tribal thief and the unstoppable badass or whatever, the unpredictable badass they call Braun Breaker, which, by the way, I've been wanting to say for a long time, is a really shit nickname. The like, to me, I'm the unpredictable badass just sounds so like cheesy thrown together. But also, then Seth goes out on injury. Then the story feels a bit interesting when it comes to, okay, now Braun's in charge. Then Braun goes on injury. Then Bronson. Then we get so much cool down with Logan and Theory. That does nothing but relegate them to the mid-card tag division. Then we don't get the payoff at Mania. So, like, I'm at the point where it's like Backlash is a B-tier pay-per-view, but now it feels like this feud between Seth and Braun has become a B-tier feud. I just don't care about it that much anymore. I don't feel like a lot of people care about it anymore because it's just hit so many snags that it's lost so much momentum.
Dude, Austin Theory's nickname is also pretty bad, and I don't remember what it is. Do you remember what they've been calling Austin Theory
The
lately?
pressure.
Yeah.
I'm
like, talk about bad nicknames.
The 2001 like MTV music video, The Pressure. Like the fuck, like it's so bad. They call Logan Paul the Maverick, the Pressure, the Unpredictable Badass, the Auszilla. I'm like, bro, like, are y'all just hitting a random name generator? Like, we know WWE is using AI a lot to write their stories now. That's been confirmed. So who knows? Maybe they're using AI to come up with a good nickname for Braun Breaker. This is his character. He's a little unpredictable and a badass. The Unpredictable Badass. I love it. Print it. Make t-shirts. Like,
yeah, I'm not a fan of that
Logan
nickname for
Paul
Austin Theory.
Logan Paul's been going by the name the Maverick for years. Don't believe me? Look at his old vlogs.
Yeah, I think he brought that nickname with him. What's wrong, Blood?
I can't hear either of you.
Go out, come back in. Go out, come back in. Tommy, I think you got a lag too, bro.
How am I right now?
It's terrible. Go out and come back in.
I'm going to go back in too.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, you guys randomly just went mute.
I think Tommy's the one that fucked it all up. As soon as he came in, it started lagging. Are you good though?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So you mentioned that you weren't really a fan of the whole storyline with the Vision or whatnot, but what about the Judgment Day? So we missed Monday Night Raw last night, but they played a nice video package for us to kind of keep up to see what's happening here. Finn Bálor walked into the Judgment Day clubhouse without anyone's permission to meet up with Roxanne. Where Roxanne was like, "What are you doing here? You got to get out of here, blah, blah, blah. Don't come back here again." And they cut back to a backstage segment, a live backstage segment where Liv Morgan's like, "Hey, I had to watch Netflix to find out that Finn Bálor was in our clubhouse. You didn't tell me about it. What's up with that, Roxanne? You know, you're keeping stuff from us or whatever." So they're starting to build the seeds there of a potential family situation, some type of turn coming from Roxanne. Is she going to side with Finn? Is she going to side with, the Judgment Day? And this backstage segment led to a one hell of a match between JD McDonagh and Finn Bálor. Finally, we got a match out of these two. A few weeks ago, they were supposed to have a match, but it never happened because Dominic Mysterio attacked Finn Bálor. We got it tonight, and it was worth the wait. Two guys that really know each other really, really well. They had a good match, and there was a lot of interesting stuff going on outside of the ring with Roxanne coming out. Liv and Raquel came out, and there's a hammer involved. Dominic Mysterio's getting involved in the match. He gets ejected. Who is Roxanne going to side with? Roxanne hits Roxanne hits Finn Bálor with the hammer behind the referee's back. So it's looking like Roxanne is actually siding with the Judgment Day, and JD McDonagh defeated Finn Bálor. The crowd was eating this up, man. They were like throwing the babies in the air for this. This was really good, I thought. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was an insanely good opener. Much better than the match that they had a couple weeks ago that I thought did not get enough time, that felt extremely rushed through, that they were like, here, have it, here you go. And I believe that match was directly after Mania, the Raw directly after Mania. But I thought this was an insanely good match between these two. A lot of distraction work I thought was done all very well. I think Roxanne is 100% on Finn Balor's side. I think this is her sowing the seeds of basically just gaining the rest of the team's trust so she can stab them in the back later on Finn's side. Because the way they were eyeing her up and down, the way that the camera lingered on her when they left the clubhouse after that backstage segment, she's definitely having misgivings about trusting them. And I think this was her just like, okay, I'll take Finn out now, but it's to gain their trust so I can stab them in the back later. She's either going to turn on Raquel in a tag match of some kind, or she's going to cost Liv some kind of match or cost Dom something. But I definitely don't see her still remaining with the Judgment Day before the summer is over. When it came down to it, the only negative thing I have to say is I felt like the Judgment Day backstage segments were extremely awkward tonight. The weird standing in like a crescent like line and then just leaning forward to talk to each other over and over again. And what are you doing here? And why are you here? And it was just like, I know that backstage they normally do like the side-by-side talking, but this wasn't even where they're like slightly turned to the camera. This was like they're literally lined up like it's class pictures, and they're just like looking across each other to cut their promos and their lines to each other. And I'm like, this is very awkward and weird. Almost felt very thrown together last minute. While you're all in this room, can we film something for the show-esque energy? Other than that, though, the match was splendid. One hell of an opener. And there's a few matches tonight where the crowd was insanely behind things. And this was kind of like that really nice, like, this is a tone setter for many of the matches going forward.
I absolutely love the match. It was absolutely phenomenal coming from both of these men. Roxanne coming out, I found it after that backstage segment as a very good test for her. So far, it seems as if she's siding with the Judgment Day, but I'm with Blood, where I feel like she's a little bit more on Balor's side than she is the Judgment Day's. So it's only going to be a matter of time before she turns on them at some point. There was one spot that I was terrified on, and that is that Spanish fly that JD McDonagh gave to Finn Balor, with the way that he landed on his neck, like tucked in. Yeah, but it was as if his chin was like squished into his damn chest the way he landed. So that Spanish fly, I was terrified for a bit. But other than that, there isn't many bad things I have to say about this match because of how good it was.
Yeah, that's a good call. I did notice that too, and they replayed it, and even the announcer sold it like, "Oh my god, that could have been easily a tombstone." And I'm like, "Yeah, that could have ended really bad." Blood, are you good? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ongoing issue throughout the episode, but we'll get through it.
All right, the next match. It's kind of hard to follow JD versus Finn Balor, but they did. It was Penta and Javon Evans versus Ethan Page and Rusev. I got a different appreciation for Javon Evans because I was lucky enough to see him wrestle live. And it was just like, boom, boom. He was like all over the place, flying like crazy. So I got to experience that. So when I saw this on TV, it was just like, it just reminded me of how fucking crazy amazing this guy is, Javon Evans. However, as good as Javon Evans is, didn't really work out for him tonight, as Ethan Page and Rusev ended up getting the win. I mean, Rusev did do a little bit of cheating there, kind of got involved behind the referee's back, slamming Penta on the announce table. and then feeding Penta to Ethan Page, where Ethan Page hit his finisher and pinned the Intercontinental Champion. Ethan Page just came in to the main roster a couple weeks ago, already got a pin on Penta, which not a lot of people can say that. So again, man, another great match. I love the outcome to this. I'm loving this, this Intercontinental title scene right now.
I can't hear you guys, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. Can you hear me? So with this match, I liked it. I'm still trying to warm up to Ethan Page. I know a lot of people like him. I definitely see the charismatic side of him, the energy. He's just not impressing me in ring. I have that same issue with Rusev. Rusev's trying his hardest to make this heel shtick work. The fans just don't seem to really care about him. But I think pairing him with Ethan Page, who gets a very good reaction from the audience, is a good thing for Rusev. Because I think it's not only going to it's going to really bring Ethan out to the mainstream or the main roster audience. It might also kind of put some of that charisma onto Rusev, who we saw a little bit of that personality from tonight more than we usually do. I want to say Penta looked great. Javon, this whole match felt like it was built around just getting Javon even more over than he already is with the audience. They lost their shit at his hot tag. They wanted Javon so badly. This is, to me, how you build a new star the correct way, organically. And then once you see that he's got a spark with the audience, you keep stoking that fire over and over and over again. And tonight was, again, just another example of Javon being extremely in touch with the audience. I will say the one thing about the match I wasn't a fan of was Ethan Page kicking out of the Penta driver, because that's supposed to be like his finish or one of his finishes next to the Mexican Destroyer. And Ethan Page kicks out of it, and then it goes straight to a commercial, and the match goes on for another 8 minutes. And I was like, I don't think you should be having a guy who just got called up from NXT kick out of Penta's finish literally midway through the match. And it wasn't even like a near fall. He kicked out at the top of 2. So I was like, I feel like you could have definitely given that a near fall for more drama to really sell the impact of that move. So that was the only thing I wasn't a fan of. Don't let new guys to the main roster be kicking out of your established guys' finishes, especially when they're champions. Come on, we got to keep credibility with these moves. But other than that, match was, again, another fantastic match. The trend continues. The audience just ate this up. And to me, it brought the match from like what would have been like a 6 to a good old 8. And a lot of that came from their give and take, specifically with Javon Evans here. Giving the heels the wins doesn't bother me because it was a protected finish. But also, I think Ethan's got to look strong. Javon's had a lot of good wins in the main roster. That's fine. Penta's the champion. That's great. But you did let Ethan pin your champion. So that's also good for Ethan. And then we saw that what looks to be a new established tag team in that smile from Rusev to Ethan. So I think all of this worked, and everybody here looked better coming out than they went going in. And that's a full mark for me.
Rusev came out right at the start being as aggressive as humanly possible. And that just fits Rusev. It really does. And there are 2 things within 2 of these men that is heavily consistent. That being Rusev is extremely aggressive and Javon Evans is very, very fast. That is just how that is. And boy, does it work because of how fast he truly is. But Page, man, he just could not get that twisted green in. He really couldn't. He had, 5 different attempts on that? So he really could not get that twisted grin locked in and full-blown put out. He just couldn't. But the right man did get the pin, and it also moved into a segment that happened during commercial break, actually, where Ethan Page came out, started bragging about saying, hey, I'm undefeated. I pinned this man twice now. So I'm basically in contender for the Intercontinental title, and I will be your new Intercontinental Champion, all ego Ethan Page, in which, honestly, I would not mind seeing a Intercontinental title reign from Ethan Page. Snug, you and I have been back and forth on this all over the place, saying that at some point, Ethan Page will absolutely be world champion. He will at some point in his career. But right now, I would not mind him going after the Intercontinental title and getting a reign off of that.
Yeah, man, I'm really big on Ethan Page. And also, we didn't watch SmackDown or review it last week, but Ricky Saints, I saw showed up on SmackDown. So, I mean, that's exciting. Seeing both of these guys in the main roster is super, super cool, man, I think. But, Blood, I want to make sure you can hear me for this one. All right. We had a contract sign in for Sol Ruca. The show was going so good, man. It was going so good. And then we came to a halt. We came at a complete fucking stop of how good the show was flowing with a talking segment. I'm like, okay, they're really pushing Sol Ruca to the moon. Like, they're giving her her own spot at the top of the hour of the show, where it's just her announcing, I'm officially part of Raw. I'm going to sign the contract, ink to paper, pen to paper. She's great. She's amazing. She's getting all the attention. All the spotlight is on her. And I'm like, that's good. That's how you put someone over. But I'm like, I mean, what if they did that for, I don't know, Jordan Grace or anyone else that has proven to be a lot better than Sol Ruca? But hey, that's just my opinion. She's getting the spotlight. Becky Lynch comes out, and I'm like, okay, now things are getting a little bit more interesting. And they create a really good moment where they have a little back and forth. Becky Lynch doesn't like what Sol Ruca said to her, so she goes to punch Sol Ruca and misses and accidentally hits Adam Pearce. Oh, okay, that got people's attention. You know, Becky Lynch has had it with, with Adam Pearce the last few weeks. Oh, did she punch him for real, or was it an accident? Oh my God, so that they're creating this moment on Sol Ruca's contract sign-in to make the people remember this moment, right? Perfect. That's great for Sol Ruca. To put the nail in the head, the final stamp of the segment, Sol Ruca was going to hit her big finishing move, the Soul Snatcher on Becky Lynch, and I'm not going to say botch. That's a horrible word. That's a bad word in my vocab. But she slipped in the middle rope. The timing was off. Becky Lynch kind of had to stay there for a second to let her get her footing back together. She did the move, and even Becky Lynch's, when she hit the mat, her timing was off too. It was just bad. And I felt bad for Sol Ruca. I'm not talking shit about her because this was her moment. This was her big moment. And I've seen her hit that move thousands of times perfectly. It just so happens that on this day, on her main roster call-up, big contract sign-in, she fucking slips in the middle rope. And I felt so fucking bad for her. That's it. That's all I got to say.
So I loved this segment, and there's a few reasons why. One, it's for all the things WWE is doing wrong right now, for all things TKO is doing or having WWE do wrong right now, and vice versa. One thing WWE has been doing extremely right this year, has been making sure all of these new NXT talents do not go the way of Vince McMahon's booking. Almost everybody who's gotten called up is a major player right now. Everybody who's gotten called up in the last 6 months is a big fucking deal. Okay, Trick Williams, perfect example. Javon fucking Evans, Oba goddamn Femi right in front of your face. Fantastic. Ricky Saints, I saw the segment and the match he had with Cody. It was fantastic. Sol Ruca getting so much shine on her. Lash Legend, like all these call-ups are really, really, really getting such a time to shine a spotlight on them. And WWE's doing that so well. So that's why this didn't bother me, that Sol Ruca had a segment for a contract signing to set up a feud with Becky. I like it's the most I've cared about Becky since AJ Lee, and before AJ Lee, I hadn't cared about Becky since Maxine Dupree, because I care about Maxine, I care about AJ, and I care about Sol. And I'm not a big fan of Becky's Donald Trump shtick gimmick. I think it's gotten a little old and long in the tooth. But at the end of the day, I do appreciate Becky for making sure all these women get over, that she is putting in the work to make sure these women are getting over, that she is making sure she sells for them. She's doing everything. When it comes to the slip, I don't think it was so much, and again, I don't want to call it a botch either. I love Sol. She's my favorite of the entire NXT women's class. To me, she is the Charlotte Flair of this generation. I think what happened was Becky was too close to the ropes. And I think when she ran to hit the Soul Snatcher, she realized Becky's like 2 feet over to the left. She's out of position. And I think when Soul looked back to see, can I hit this from this angle I hit in the rope, she didn't watch where her foot went for placement. And that's what happened. Then she had to recorrect, and then Becky had to dive into it. But I do think Becky was slightly out of position. Soul didn't pay attention when she was trying to see where Becky was, missed her footing, and then hit the Soul Snatcher to follow through and finish the segment. I think it was just a miscommunication on both of their parts. I don't think it's a matter of nerves. I don't think it's a matter of, oh, Soul's terrible. I think it's just, hey, Becky seemed too far out of position. Soul overthought it too much and then tripped herself up overthinking it. And in that moment, it's just like, you got to kind of go for it. And I think she just overthought the positioning too much and then missed her footing. But other than that, it didn't ruin the segment for me. The fans still cheered for her. But I definitely did feel bad. I was like, oh, man. All right, hey, it happens to everybody. No one has a perfect night every night of the week. Every other match she's done phenomenal. Of course, it's a talking segment where, you know, the thing happens and it's a big night. But, hey, brush it off your shoulder. You're going to have to learn this shit, kids. Sometimes it doesn't go your way in the big moments. And that's okay. Soul's a big girl. She's going to brush it off. I'm sure Triple H told her, hey, accidents happen, shit happens. We're going to move on. People forget about it by next week. And I think she's going to do it. I'm extremely excited about this program with her and Becky. I think it's great. I really hope it's for the IC championship. But Becky has proven that she's very selfless when she's doing the work for these people lately, especially these women.
My biggest thing at this point, I feel bad for Shawn Michaels, man. I really do, because it feels like this man has been left with the scraps, honestly. All of the massive names, all of the top stars that NXT had, Triple H just took them. So, like, we're looking at Sol Ruca, Ethan Page, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, Joe Hendry, all of the massive names, Oba Femi as well. All of these massive names, 2 of which were literally just in a triple threat against Tony D'Angelo for the NXT title, is now up on the main roster. All of those top stars that Shawn Michaels has put so much into, Triple H just took them all. So now Shawn Michaels basically has to start from scratch at this point. But I walked away from my phone for a second as soon as Becky came out, and I looked over at my girlfriend. I'm like, let me tell you exactly what she's going to say. I'm the best, and that's not just me saying it. Everybody's saying it. I walk away for 2 seconds, and she looks my way and just goes, hey, babe, she said exactly what you said she would say. So that is getting a little bit predictable and ongoing at this point, that she's always going to say that, because of course she is. But what makes this even better is the fact that Sol Ruca didn't just sign tonight, because they announced during this segment, Sol mentioned it just quickly at the end, they have a match at Backlash this Saturday. it will be Sol Ruca versus Becky Lynch. I'm not sure if that's for the title or not. I don't think so. But we're still getting Sol Ruca versus Becky Lynch at Backlash.
Really quick, I do want to say something in response to your Shawn Michaels thing. Mania weekend had all of these podcasts, all these interviews with all the stars. One of the rare ones we got that we don't get to see a lot was Shawn Michaels and Triple H just interviewing each other, just talking. It's a really great one. It's like 25 minutes. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's really funny. Just two friends talking about the business. And there was a line in there where Shawn goes, I make, I build them up, and then, we build up for the main roster, and then Triple H goes, "Yeah, you build them, I steal them," and then he goes, "Sorry about that, by the way." He goes, "That's part of it." He goes, "Yep, I build them, you steal them." He goes, "And I'm going to keep stealing them too."
That's fucking amazing. Well, you know what wasn't amazing? The next match segment was Joe Hendry versus Austin Theory. And I like both of these guys so much. I'm just not a fan of this whole feud with Joe Hendry and Logan Paul, because it's Joe Hendry coming out singing a silly song and Logan Paul overreacting to it, like getting really, really upset to the point where it's unbelievable. It's just, the people love to hate Logan Paul. They love to see Logan Paul get mad and get frustrated so they can just boo him. And I get it, it's crowd work. But also at the same time, like, how old are you, Logan? Like, you're a star. You're a fucking millionaire. You're getting mad about Joe Hendry singing a little funny song about you. Okay, whatever. So I get it. It's entertaining, blah blah blah, but it's just I'm not really feeling it. And also before there was like a backstage segment with the Vision where Logan Paul, he's so angry. Oh, Joe Hendry's making these songs about me. I want to kill him. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure he's not breathing. I'm like, really, bro? It's not that serious. Yeah. And then Paul Heyman goes, I know you're gonna do that. You're willing to do that. But for that reason, you're not going to fight Joe Hendry. Austin Theory is. And I'm like, wait a minute. So, Paul, what you're telling me is that Logan Paul can hurt Joe Hendry, but Austin Theory can't? No. Just let Austin Theory do it, because we know you'll kill Logan Paul, but we'll let Austin Theory do it. So, okay. So they have a wrestling match. Logan Paul gets involved. They beat up Joe Hendry, and out comes the Street Profits. And then now we have a 3-on-3 situation, right? And Braun Breaker comes out. He takes everyone out. And now we have one of the top matches of Backlash. Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins being involved in the same match in the same segment as this silly feud between Logan Paul and Joe Hendry. And I just didn't want to see Seth and Braun Breaker get mixed up in this, but they did. Yeah, that happened. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, it definitely felt like a severe clashing of tones. The super serious feud over here in Braun and Seth, and then the tag title chase and the ego-driven story with Logan and Joe. And here's the weird thing. Inside of the Logan and Joe feud, there's still a clash of tones, because the Street Profits are super serious and Logan and Theory feel like a bunch of goofballs. And then Joe Hendry's out there doing musicals. So like it's like three tonal clashes in one overarching collected story that's all touching each other. Here's an analogy. I like when I go to a cafeteria, I have my protein, my veggies, my starch, and my fruit. You know what I don't want? I don't care if my protein touches my starch, my mashed potatoes, my veggies, but I don't want my chicken or my steak touching my fruit. I don't want my fruit touching my mashed potatoes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes things are better separate. And so for me, I I have no problem with Braun coming out and wrecking shop because he's their leader. But then it's like, oh, well, fuck, why did it have to be here? They're jumping Joe. Let them jump Joe. Oh, but the Street Profits got to get involved. Okay, that's fine. They're coming for the titles. Okay, but then why is Braun here? Of course, Seth's going to be out. And now we have the Street Profits screwing Seth over, and the goofballs on the outside basically winning the segment, proxy Braun, who got an extra spear off. And then I'm worried about Braun the whole time, hoping to God he's not injury prone, because that spear he hit looked like he hurt himself. He's grabbing at his shoulder or his trap like he tore something. I'm like, please, for the love of God, not again. So the whole thing to me is a mess. I'm not even really into the Braun and Seth thing anymore, as I explained earlier in the episode of this review. And I'm actually more interested in the Street Profits getting the fucking titles off of the other Vision people, in Theory and Logan. It's too much going on. And I really just don't want to see this result in some massive fucking tag match with the three of the Vision versus, Seth and the Street Profits. And then it's like, well, then where do you fit Joe Hendry? So it's too much going on at one time. Let's separate the stories. I liked that Seth at the end was like, hey, I'll stay out of your way, you stay out of my way. Let's do it that way.
Here's where I think people are getting a little bit confused, and I completely understand why. Because Joe Hendry started that concert during the ads, and then it finished after they came back. So people coming back from ads are already extremely confused because it's on the near end of Joe Hendry's entire thing. So maybe that is a little bit all over the place and clearly needs to be fixed, because that is a little bit iffy, because that was literally the entire lead up to the match. But of course, Logan had to force a disqualification because Logan has to Logan. He just does. But overall, the ending is where I was most connected to. It wasn't even the match itself. But the fact that the Street Profits came out, then Breaker came out to deal with them and took both of them out, then Seth came out. All of that chaos still keeps, at least before Seth came out, it still keeps Braun Breaker strong, knowing the fact that he just took out the most likely number one contenders for the tag team titles on his own. So there's that.
Yeah, and at this point during the show, I was already checking out, man. Like, we started off so good at the first half, and then, after the Sol Ruca thing, it just started going downhill for me a little bit. And then we had the open challenge from Oba Femi, right? Oba Femi announced last week, oh, the open challenge begins. And I'm like, okay. We didn't really get to talk about this last week because we didn't review, but yeah, that's what they came up with for Oba Femi. After defeating Brock Lesnar, we're going to do an open challenge for someone who's not a champion. That we don't really see. Okay, that's new. That's different. But also, how many fucking open challenges are we seeing? We just got done with one on SmackDown that went on forever. I feel like I'm forgetting one. I know they do it in AAA. I'm pretty sure they've done it on NXT. They're just everywhere. So we're doing one for Oba Femi now. Okay. And then they make everyone think that it was going to be Akira Tozawa, but it ends up being Otis. All right, that should be interesting. So we get Otis versus Oba Femi, where Oba Femi overpowers Otis, a much bigger athlete. That's cool. Okay, that looked great. They had some cool spots where, Oba Femi just trucks the shit out of Otis. Goddamn. And then picked them up for a big power bomb. Looked great. Boom. Oba Femi wins 1, 2, 3. Impressive, but not exciting, man. Like, it's just okay. So we're gonna see this every week moving forward. But What did you guys think?
I liked that the Alpha Academy, even though they're basically a job team, the only thing that annoys me is, one, I want to know why we just stopped using Maxine in the women's division. She was going strong for a good 6 months there. I'd like to see her back in the women's division, not back as just a valet. Two, I liked the Akira stuff, thought it was funny. I thought it was great. Otis coming in, big reaction from the crowd. If there's one thing you can say, they are a job team, but they are beloved. The entire team is beloved by the audience. The reaction of Otis was great. Because when you look at Otis, you don't believe he's going to beat Oba, but you do look at him and go, oh my God, finally someone who's going to give Oba a struggle or a challenge. And they go through the shoulder checking for the shoulder tackles. They go back and forth. It's really good. The fans just kept climbing with it. And though we even hated on the previous thing with the Vision story crap, the fans were going nuts for that shit. When it comes down to this, the fans came alive. I saw one of the best running, flying European uppercuts I've seen since Cesaro / Claudio Castagnoli, a.k.a. Claudio Castagnoli. That was a pure perfection ass looking fucking flying uppercut. Then we got the awesome, I guess you can technically call it an avalanche fall from grace, because he got him up on the top turnbuckle, or the middle turnbuckle actually. Got him up. I was worried about his left knee. It looked like that bitch was about to snap sideways, but then he planted him 1, 2, 3. And the audience ate it up. And I liked it, even though these are both baby faces. No one's going to be mad at Oba for beating for beating Otis, because it's not a squash. A squash would have been if Oba had cleaned him down in a minute or 30 seconds. No, he had to fight a little bit to make sure the power gain was in his favor. I think this worked because it's the proper use of Alpha Academy. It's getting beloved talent with a rising beloved talent. And Otis is going to work his ass off for Oba. So I enjoyed this, because even though we don't need Oba to do an open challenge, it makes sense. I think the disconnect people are going to have, or you might be having, Edgar, is that Oba came to the main roster with a squash match of open challenges. Then he finally got a story with Brock. Now he's back into another series of squash match open challenges. And people are going to be like, do you have nothing planned for him? And that I can understand where people might slightly disconnect.
Yes, good old Otis. At this point, that's all I can say about him. That's all I can pretty much say about the Alpha Academy as a whole, because WWE refuses to use them, at all. This is the first time I have seen the Alpha Academy in a hot minute. I did find it funny when Tozawa came out, because I'm just like, dude, this skinny man is going to die. This man is not surviving, Oba Femi. He is going to get snapped like a twig. So if it was Tozawa, I'm terrified, because that man's going to die. But it ended up being a little bit of a fake out, because then Otis came in and Tozawa went out. I'm like, okay, this is going to end up not being as much of a squash match as Tozawa would have been, because everybody has a squash match with Tozawa. Kit Wilson would have a squash match with Tozawa, and he's the one getting beat down on SmackDown right now. So, yeah. But at this point, my biggest problem is just how they're using the Alpha Academy, because of the fact that they're not using them. I'm just waiting for what happened with the Creed brothers, but we'll talk about that here in a second to happen.
Yeah, the Creed brothers showed up on Monday Night Raw wearing lucha masks. And I'm thinking, why? I didn't watch wrestling last week, so did they show up with lucha masks last week? I don't know, maybe.
They did on AAA.
Okay,
Contract
so yeah,
between the Americanos, Creed brothers came out with the masks.
right. And we got that video package. We got that explanation. Okay, and you guys know me. I like to joke about this stuff because I like this feud in AAA, right? And I like to put it over in a joking way, but at this point, I can't even defend this anymore, dog. Like, okay, they put the mask on Chad Gable first. All right. And then they put it on Kaiser because I think Chad got injured. Okay. Now it's just like this running joke, right? When Kaiser got it, but Kaiser got it over. He got it over so much that they added two guys to create this faction of fake luchadors, which is Bravo and
Ryan.
Ryan. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. But Kaiser got it over so much in AAA that I understood it. I accepted it. Okay, he deserves to have his two lackeys, no problem. But now you're putting it on the Creed brothers. Okay, now it's like this is way too much, even for me, who someone who loves this shit, right? I couldn't do it, man. But the good thing is that this is going to come to an end very, very soon because someone is going to get unmasked May 30th at the end of this month, either Chad Gable or Ludwig Kaiser, because they are going to be wrestling for mask versus mask. So that's the good thing about all of this. The other good thing about this is, hey, at least they're using the Creed brothers, they're a great tag team. They deserve to be on TV. Unfortunately, they're using them in a really underwhelming way, but they had a good match. All six of these guys are great workers, but it was what it was. It's just to hype up May 30th, and Chad Gable got the pin because apparently, I mean, they were in Omaha and they were in Nebraska. There's no Mexican people there, so of course they're going to cheer for Chad Gable, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's probably Native Americans, if anything. Brown people, just the wrong ones. When it comes down to it, the biggest problem here is that if you wanted to insert the Creeds, right, why didn't you do it when Chad returned? Because when Chad went out on injury, the last thing he said to Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers in a backstage segment while his arm was in a sling was, all right, when I'm gone, Ivy's in charge. Listen to her. Whatever she says goes. When I come back, I'm going to see all of you dripped in gold. That was the last thing we heard. Then they were on TV for about 2-3 weeks. Then they were off TV for about 4 fucking months. And then they remembered, oh yeah, Ivy works here. Let's push her. The Creeds will just be backstage randomly. And then we won't really see them on TV, but we'll focus on Ivy. Then now the Creeds are on TV and now Ivy's nowhere to be found. And I had to double check. She's still employed with the company. So she wasn't released at any point this year. So now we have that problem. When the Creeds originally debuted on the main roster like 2.5 or so years ago, they got a lot of great fanfare. They're a fantastic team, hyper athletic, extremely entertaining, and they've been relegated to comedy fodder. And I'm sick and tired of seeing that happen with great teams who could honestly be filling out the depths of the men's tag division. My thing is, I would care about this even a percent because I don't give a shit about this feud and I haven't since it started. I would have cared more if this had been Chad coming back and then bringing those two into it with him from the start. I would have preferred Chad getting the Creeds in and then them letting Ivy go so she could go in the tag or the women's division and go after the IC title, and we could finally get a spotlight on Ivy, who is severely fucking underrated. And I think the whatever their fucking team is called, Chad's team, because I keep wanting to call it the Alpha Academy, but it's not. I feel like Ivy is better without them, and I feel like putting her with them dragged her down when they didn't know what to do with the other two. So they were like, well, we'll pick and choose when either or side is on TV. And it's just made the whole thing shit and inconsistent. So I can't wait for this to be over. I really want Ludwig to win at AAA at the May 30th event because I want Chad Gable back.
Yeah, what has Ivy Nile been doing? I have looked it up. She has been doing pretty much nothing but bodybuilding competitions. That's what she's been posting about. Is just that. But I did write something down for this match, and it wasn't even about the match. It was about a problem that I have with WWE involving 6 men in total. And there's a 6 men involving in this match. Whenever WWE doesn't know what to do with someone, they randomly decide to turn them into luchadors. Chad Gable, Ludwig Kaiser, the Creed brothers, Pete Dunne, and God, I can't remember who the hell is the other one.
Tyler Bate.
And Tyler Bate. These 6 men, WWE did not know what the hell to do with them. So what did they do? They slapped a luchador mask on them and said, hey, go do the Spanish thing. So that's really my biggest problem with this entire thing. And overall, it did absolutely nothing for that feud because the feud isn't happening on the fucking main roster. It's happening on AAA. So why was this here?
Yeah, the only person this story has honestly benefited has been Kaiser. And it's benefited him because he's gotten great heat on the main roster when he was starting out as like this personal friend of Dominic Mysterio. And then it turned into, well, now he'll do this shtick more over in Mexico than he will in the main roster. And the problem is WWE is so fucking arrogant that they just go, well, everybody who watches the product and watches in the arena watches the whole product. So everybody in Omaha, Nebraska knows what's going on in Mexico on our TV. And in case you don't, we'll show you a clip of the contract signing where Kaiser got put through a table. And everybody who hasn't watched AAA at all is going to go, oh, was I supposed to know about that? Is that why they're having a match tonight? I thought this was just like a buffer match until we got to the main event shit. Okay. That's the energy this gave off. It felt like a buffer match because 90% of this feud has taken place on AAA and the other 10% has just been promotional segments or light fucking basically 50-50 booking matches on the main roster. And no one gives a fuck.
Yeah, I think these matches, they put them on Raw, obviously to promote AAA, right? But I think it's for the Mexican viewers that are tuning in for Raw more than it is for the American fans that are watching this for them to tune into AAA, because the video packages that we see that they play on Monday Night Raw do not do it justice at all whatsoever as to what's actually happening in AAA. Because what's actually happening in AAA is phenomenal. The stuff that they're doing in AAA with OG Americano, with Ludwig Kaiser, it is some real fucking like wrestling territory type feel shit. Like The Undertaker is booking AAA. Like, it's just two different worlds, completely different. It's just unfortunate that the way it's being presented, it just doesn't hit the same. Even for me, when I'm watching AAA, I'm like into it. When I watch, and these are the same guys, when I watch them on Raw, it's just dead. Yep. Looks like he froze.
Yep.
This is going to be fun. Editing. Go ahead, Blood.
It must be incredibly frustrating to be Chad and Ludwig and all the others who are involved in the story because you go to AAA and you know your feud is fucking hot. You know it's got fanfare. You know it's got story. You know it's been going on for a while. You know it's being eaten up. It feels organic, natural, like a fire has been caught and lit and burning ablaze. And then you have to come and try to bring that energy to the main roster knowing it's futile. Knowing that no one on when you come to the main roster, the audience looks at it and goes, oh, undercard feud. When you go south of the border, it's probably the top feud in the company. And that's the heartbreaking thing here, is that it's such a shame there's such a disconnect between how WWE pedestals their stuff that a triple A burning feud that is probably one of the top acts in the fucking in the promotion is a lower mid card or upper lower card program on the main roster. That sucks, and that's got to be creatively frustrating for these guys.
Plus, the biggest confusing thing for me, and that's probably also frustrating for them, is the fact that on AAA, Ludwig is the babyface, and the other one, the original Americano, is the heel. But here on the main roster, the roles are reversed, which is another thing that I'm like, this does nothing, because the roles are completely opposite from what they are in AAA.
Well, the good thing is, I believe we are going to get Chad Gable back, because he mentioned him today before the match, and that pre-interview that they did before the match started. OG Americano gave a shout out to my good friend Chad Gable, who's still injured, by the way. So I think they're slowly starting to like prepare the fans, like, hey, Chad Gable is coming back.
The crowd popped for that, by the way. The crowd popped when he said Chad Gable. The crowd popped. So that means you build this up enough, Chad's going to get a great warm welcome back on the main roster.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. All right, well, we had to sit through all of that to finally get to Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu's contract signing for their match at Backlash. And I was already losing interest in the show, right? But this segment brought me back in it because Roman's promo was so amazing. Jacob Fatu cuts a good promo, right? They both pleaded their cases, but I really bought into this match, what the point is, the story here. And it made Roman Reigns, the champion, the tribal chief, look like just that, the top dog. Jacob Fatu keeps talking about his family, his 7 kids, how he wants better education for them, a better life for them. And Roman Reigns is like, okay, that's cool, bro. You can look out for your 7 kids. I'm looking out for the entire family. I'm looking out for multiple households. I'm looking out for 100 kids. I'm looking out for better education for the next generations. Like, goddamn, like Roman Reigns' damn near son, Jacob Fatu, in this segment. That's what it felt like. But it works because it kind of makes you wonder, like, is Jacob Fatu even ready? I mean, I don't think so. Jacob Fatu, he's violent, he's desperate, and he showed that in the segment because he went after Roman Reigns again and pretty much just left Roman laid out again for what, the second time in a row. But it was a good way to hype up their match at Backlash. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, this entire feud is extremely reminiscent of the first real feud that Roman had as the tribal chief when he came back way back in 2020 during COVID. And that was with Jey Uso. It was the same feud. Jey feeling like he could be the head of the table, that he could do the things that Roman's doing, because one of the promos that Jey had back then was, why does it have to be you? Why can't it be me? I can feed our families. I can lead our blood. I can take us into the stratosphere. I can make us relevant. I can do all those things too. Why can't it be me? And that's what it is for Jacob too. Hey, it is in a sense. It's not about Jacob caring about leading everybody. Jacob wants to just live a life that he sees Roman living, but he wants to take that and give it to his family. You see, with Jey, it was more selfless while being selfish. Jay's ego said, I have to be the one that does what you're doing for everybody. He was putting the burden on his own shoulders. Jacob is saying, the burden has been on my shoulders for 12 years, and I haven't got anything to show for it to the level that you guys do while you've been here For all those years, I've been out there trying to take care of everything I've got, and it's the only thing I've been able to take care of. And I want to be able to do more for my family, for my lifestyle. And I like that when, Jacob had some great lines, but Roman's rebuttals just almost kind of buried Jacob. He's like, you're worried about your household for 12 years you've been grinding. I've been here for over 12 years taking care of multiple households. You're worried about your 7 kids. I'm worried about the 170. You're talking about grinding for 12 years. I've been here on top, busting my ass, leading this company into the future on my back. All of Jacob's points prove he's not ready. And all Roman had to do was say all those things, because Roman was trying to tell him, when you're the guy at the top, it's not just about the things you want. It's about the things the family needs. And you're only going to be ready when you understand that. Because truth be told, Jay was ready from the beginning. He understood that. He wanted to take care of everybody. It wasn't just about himself. Jacob is making this just about himself, his ego, and his death by comparison to his career and his struggle versus Roman's career and Roman's rise. And one thing remains to be true at the end of this. Jacob is losing on Saturday because he is not ready. And the promo proved it.
Yeah, I just got to jump in really quick. I don't know if this is trying to make a correction, but the difference between Jacob and Jay, Jacob, the first thing he said flat out was like, I'm not trying to be tribal chief. I'm not trying to be at the head. Unlike Jey Uso, who was like, hey, I do want to be that guy. I do want to be you. Jacob just says, hey, I just want the things that come with it. He's like, you can keep that title. Just the difference between those two.
I did try to correct myself through, but you're correct.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is the fact that as Snug literally just said, Jay is like, hey, look, you can keep that title and all of that. Jacob, on the other hand, he did speak nothing but facts on his end of things, on the fact that he's been out on the streets and he doesn't want to go back to that and all of that. But at the same time, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I need that title. That's the biggest problem with Jacob, and that is why he's not ready. He doesn't want it enough. He needs it. It's two completely separate problems that Jay, as you said, Bled, completely understood everything that he needed to do. Jacob does not fully understand that. He will at some point, but at the current moment in time, he's not ready to even get close to what Roman Reigns has at the current moment. But in the segment itself, there was one thing I was worried as all hell about, because up until that point, I'm like, okay, when's the table going to break? When's someone going to go through the table? All of a sudden, Jacob tries to put Roman through the table, and the table doesn't break. He just bounced off of that thing like a damn bouncy ball. And I'm like, oh, why didn't that table break? That was really my biggest issue with the segment as a whole, is the fact that that table did not break as it was supposed to.
My last thought on this, because I think it's also incredibly important to the story here, is Roman said, I think it was 2 weeks ago after he won it, the Monday Night Raw after Mania, he said, finally, he goes, because the title doesn't make the man. The man makes the title. Jacob says he needs that title, so he gets everything that the title gives him. It's materialistic. It's money. It's the jets, right? It's the schedule. It's all the crap that comes with the championship. Roman's need for that title has never been about the stuff that comes with it. It's always been about two things for Roman: self-validation and validation from the family that he is the one at the top leading the family. That's where they differ. Roman doesn't care about the title for what it gives him personally. He cares about the title for what it allows him to do openly amongst the bloodline and how he can help the family. And I think that's another perfect reason. If the man is supposed to make the title, Roman makes that title prestigious. He makes it integral to the bloodline's forward momentum. If Jacob has it, the title is making him. And I think that is the biggest distinction here. He is nowhere near ready because he's unable to see that very point that is so simple to Roman. And I think this was a great segment to really flesh that part out. It's so subtle, but it's also extremely, extremely true. It's not a convoluted story, and that's what I like. It's very straightforward. You're not ready because your ego says, this thing will change my life. But Romans goes, I need this thing because it'll change all of our lives.
Yeah, big difference there. Man, I feel like we are already getting a head start on our predictions here for this Wednesday. But on that note, yeah, that's what went down. Overall, pretty enjoyable Monday Night Raw for the most part. A lot better go-home show than some of the other ones we've seen, if I'm being honest. Even the one from WrestleMania, which I was there in person. And yeah, this one just blew that episode of Raw out of the water, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we'll be back again for predictions this week. NXT review coming up as well. So we will see you guys very, very soon. Mr. Blood, if you will, please.
It's been a week, but let me dust this shit off, bitch. May the 4th be with you on this Monday Night Raw review episode of Snug Wrestling. We are back in the saddle, bitches. Thank you so much for kicking it with us as always. If you love hanging out with us every week for wrestling content, you can do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after Raw, NXT, and SmackDown go off the air for live post-show reviews, and hang out with us on all of our social medias for segment-to-segment reaction content. Of course, there is also the new Blood Drop channel on TikTok, which is the sister channel to the Snug Wrestling TikTok and my personal. That is The Blood Drop, BLUDD. Go follow us over there. That is where all my new wrestling analytical segments will be posted. And of course, every Thursday night, you can catch myself, Mr. Blood, and the founder of Snug Wrestling, Edgar, over there, when we go one-on-one on TikTok Live for random or relevant wrestling topics. Now, on top of that, you can support the podcast by heading over to our teepublic.com. That's teepublic.com/snug-wrestling to pick up your wrestling podcast merch on more than a dozen different items and support your favorite wrestling ranked podcast. So guys, until next time, stay safe, stay savage, and stay snug. And Tommy, let's dust that shit off, bitch. I said that was one time for the one time. That was 4 letters. 1 word. Yeet.